American Family Radio Network, Financial Issues. I'm Dan Celia. We are going to get back to the phones. If you want to cue your call, we've got one line open, 866-300-9298. I want to remind all of you that this week is our campaign here at American Family Radio for Youth for Truth Bible Week. And you know that Youth for Truth Bible Week, for the last 10 years, have distributed 670,000 Bibles to teenagers that have taken them, have made a commitment, that have planned on taking them into their public school and giving them to their non-believing friends. And it is just an incredible ministry. Listen to this short testimony.
Yeah, Dan. Jeremy from Paris, Tennessee, wrote Revival Fires International and said, "Thank you for letting me have this Truth for Youth Bible. The graphic novels were really good. They brought me back to the Lord after I had been away for a long time. Thank you so much." That was Jeremy from Paris, Tennessee. Just one more life Devin, that was changed.
Yeah, isn't that awesome? And Devin, you got a whole list of testimonies like that, don't you?
We do. We have dozens.
Yeah. It is, and you know, just if thank you, Devin. That's great. It just drives home the point. You know, it drives it home that here's a life that was changed because somebody called American Family Radio or went to AFR.net and got a free Bible, a Truth for Youth Bible, and got it in the hands of that particular student. And there's been 670,000 of these given. And this year, American Family Association and American Family Radio has a goal of 60,000. We want to give away to our listeners so that you can give it to your teen son or daughter. Or maybe you want to order them in bulk for $2. You can get a large quantity of these and give them to your youth group and have your youth group, make sure they distribute them. And we want to do 60,000 Bibles this week. So we sure would appreciate it if you come alongside us. AFR.net. AFR.net. You can find out how to get your free Bible. Or you can go to 800-733-4737. 800-733-4737. And we sure wish and hope and pray that you will do that you will, tell your friends about it so that they can do it as well this week and help AFR reach our goal of 60,000 Bibles. You know, we'll get God back into the schools, even if it means one Bible at a time, one student at a time. And we certainly, we just have to watch the news for about 20 minutes to realize how desperately we need God's word in our public schools. So help us with that. We sure would appreciate it. Let me go back to the phones, but before I do that, just the major indices in positive territory. The Dow's up 37. The dollar is rallying. So remember I said, wait a minute, there's this. So I apologize because I should have immediately picked that up when the GDP number came out, and I didn't. I was so hung up on the deception of the GDP number that I missed it. So that would be the reason why gold is going down. That's why our precious metals are going down, because the dollar was weakening further before the GDP number came out based on Syria and a couple other things. Well, now it's gaining some strength. The reason that the dollar would be gaining strength is the reason on the GDP number is because it would give a further indication that Ben Bernanke in September may slow down the trashing of the dollar by continuing the quantitative easing. So if he cuts it by 10 billion or 20 billion a month, that will be a good thing for the dollar. So that would be the reason we're seeing gold. So I'm glad I was able to find that and get that cleared up. Let me go to the calls and go to David. David's calling us from Minnesota. Oh, Minnesota? Yeah. Hey, David. Michigan. I'm sorry. I had the M right anyway. Go ahead, David. David? All right, we don't have David. Let me go to James. James calling us from Oklahoma. Hey, James.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, James. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
I have, in December, I have $400,000 coming from a sale of some residential property, and I have to move. It's one of those have to things for progress.
Okay.
I bought a home for $165,000, which I have a note on. I have $50,000 in my 401k. I'm not working. My wife has $100,000 in her 401, and she's still working, and we're both drawing our Social Security. And I want to know, where should I put this money?
So if it's $600,000, I assume the property was sold for how much?
The property was sold for $400,000, and I borrowed $165,000 to relocate in another house.
And Go ahead.
I'm going to take the money out of the $400,000 and pay the note off completely for the house.
Okay. Now, have you lived the property that was sold? Is that a property that you lived in?
Yes, sir.
And did you live in there 3 out of the last 5 years?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the reason I asked that question, because I'm trying to get to a capital gains issue that you may or may not have. So you're pretty good on the capital gains issue because that it was an owner occupied resident. So residency. So that's good. Well, you're both still working. How long do you think you're going to be working? Do you know, James?
Well, I'm not working now.
Oh, you're not working. Okay, you're getting Social Security. Your wife's getting Social Security, but she's still working.
Yes, sir.
Here's the thing. I would say that you've got to right now not get talked into anything. I would put it in a money market account. I would say to you the same thing I said to one of the other callers. This is great timing. If you get my newsletter, it doesn't cost anything, by the way. My newsletter, folks, is free. It's an email newsletter. It comes out every Friday night. This would be a good week. I wrote an article this week in reference to income, Social Security, and all those things that you'll find very interesting and it'll be helpful to you in making a decision. But I would say to you that things are too volatile right now, James. I'm not excited about the prospects for the markets over the next 6 months. So what I don't want you to do over the next couple of months anyway, till we see some of the dust settle and see where things are going, I don't want you to expose this money to market risk at this time. I just don't think that would be wise. So the only thing you can really do with it that is going to protect it and it's not going to help you in the sense that it's not going to gain anything either. But I think you've got to protect it, put it in a money market account, and let's see where the dust settles. But you certainly in the next 3 to 6 months ought to develop a strategy where you can start weaning this money into the markets. Now, you may want to do it through mutual funds. And, of course, the only mutual funds I can recommend are Timothy. And if you were to open an account at the Timothy plan, then you could, start weaning it in. I would probably tell you to start putting a little bit in their Israel fund, start putting some in their conservative growth fund and their strategic growth fund, and start, weaning some money in. And what I mean by that is, every month, put a little bit more money in until you get to about the 50% mark at least, and then sit back and take another look. But that would be what I think you should do. And so the immediate action is to pretty much do nothing. Get it into some money market account. When you do that at your bank, James, if you do it at the bank, the first thing they're going to say is, well, we'd like you to sit and talk to our financial person. And your answer needs to be, that's okay. I don't want to do that, because their goal is going to be to try to talk you into some financial product or annuity or something like that, and I wouldn't want you to do that. So I think you just stick to it and take a preservation of principle mindset right now, and set that aside where it's not going to be subject to any volatility in the markets.
Okay.
Does that all make?
Yeah, it makes sense, and thank you very much.
You're welcome, James. I appreciate that. Let me go to Charles. Is it Charles? Yeah. Charles calling us from Alabama. Hey, Charles.
Hello, Dan. How are you today?
I'm okay.
Good. Listen, I'm a pastor here in Mobile, and I'm not hearing any discussion on the impact of Obamacare on ministries. And I've learned only in the last couple of weeks that we have a daycare, have about 60 employees in our daycare, and then I've learned that our ministry staff for the church and the daycare staff will all be put together to determine whether or not we, have to buy insurance, and which means, of course, that it's gonna really play havoc with our ministries. I mean, it's gonna be destructive to us. We're gonna have to cut back, or we're gonna have to do something. We don't know yet what we're gonna have to do. So, can you tell me anything about that?
Well, you know what, Charles, you're absolutely right. There's not enough talk about that. It is going to hurt ministries across the country. It's going to hurt my ministry because of healthcare costs going up. But I don't face what you face, in that you've now got a number of full-time employees. It sounds like, do you have over 50 full-time employees, Charles?
And actually, a lot of those are not full-time. A lot of them are part-time. We can cut everybody back to 29 hours a week.
Okay.
But we still have to cut back on the total number of hours, is my understanding, which means we have to cut back on ministry. Ministry is going to be decimated. And our alternative, and I don't know if I calculated it right, I just based on what little bit of understanding I had, is we're going to face huge monthly fines, if we are not able to provide the insurance, so I'm just wondering what, to me, I would really like to hear, some congressmen talking about, and we're trying to get with our local congressman here, but I'd like to hear somebody talking about what kind of impact this is going to have on nonprofit organizations that are actually helping the society and improving the quality of life and everything. Not to mention, of course, that we're in the ministry to share the gospel with people. But and I'm not hearing that. I'm wanting to know, what do we have to do to get a discussion started? And
I think
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Charles. I interrupted you. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, one rumor that I heard, and I can't substantiate it, is that there's some talk about about excusing nonprofit organizations or churches or something. But I don't. Like I said, that's just a rumor. And I can't get any kind of confirmation. Is there any kind of discussion going on? And if it does, I'm sure it'll just be one more of so many.
Right. Well, no, there's no conversation that I know in reference to excusing nonprofit organizations from the corporate mandate that's out there. Now, the corporate mandate that you're referring to has been extended, so it's not going to be a mandate coming January 1st, but January 1st of 2015 it will be taking place. Right now, President Obama, ignoring the Constitution, made a decision on his own to go ahead and postpone the corporate mandate for a year to get through the election cycle of 2013, obviously because he knows it's going to be damaging and didn't want that hanging over the heads of Democrats running for re-election. So it has been extended. and that extension would go to ministry. So you guys are being treated as everything that you hear negative on from a corporate standpoint is negative for ministries. The downside, the real downside, of course, is organizations like yours. Organizations, one of the examples that I've used over the last couple of years has been Samaritan's Purse as a perfect example of how this is a wonderful power grab for the government. Because when you look at a Samaritan's Purse ministry, if they can cut the charitable deductions, which I don't think it'll impact ministries like they think it will, and if they do enforce this and it hurts a ministry like Samaritan's Purse, that means they're not going to be able to do some of the disaster relief they do. So the government is going to have to take a bigger role, and that's exactly what the government wants. They want more control, and they want to be able to take a bigger role. So so the only thing that you can do, Charles, is do exactly what you do. You have to contact your local representative, and you've got to talk to them about how this is going to hurt the local community because of your inability to work efficiently and effectively for the ministry work that you do in your community. 866-300-9298.
Hello, I'm Tim Wildman. Do you have a bucket list? I know that